Those were my pickups. I'm going to pull as much of the stuff back into the frame as I can. These were my pickups. There were a couple of things that
Tales of Weird Stuff presents VCF East pickups.
As promised in my previous video, here is my VCF East pickups video. Now, I didn't actually get a lot of stuff. I had flown across the country and was going to fly back, was going to fly back. And so I did not have a lot of space in my luggage, even though when I flew out, I had a suitcase inside of a suitcase so that I could come back with one checked bag and one carry-on bag. And even with the small amount of stuff that I did get, those bags were packed to the limit. Like the checked bag, there's a weight limit of 50 pounds and it was 49.5 pounds. And I'm glad that they didn't do the size check on my carry-on bag to make sure that it would fit in the overhead bin, because they probably would have made me check it if they had done that test. And I'm actually going to start this pickups video with something that I picked up before the show, but I picked it up for the show, if that makes sense. In a bunch of my previous festival and event expo videos that I've done, I've done a long walkthrough, and it has been very shaky camera, and watching back that footage, especially watching back that footage sped up, has made me sick to my stomach. So I decided to purchase something like this. I got a gimbal to help steady out that footage. I picked this up on eBay. I purchased it as a refurbished by eBay model. I think I paid $90 for it shipped. It's kind of a nice little gadget. I'm still getting to know it. I'm going to play around with it a little bit. And see, it's got all the various controls. It has an extra little thing to screw on the bottom here so that it can double as a just, like an extra like tripod sort of a deal. While I was using it at the festival, it worked pretty well. There were a couple things that I noted in the walkthrough video where I'm still kind of getting the hang of it. I'm going to spend a few more weeks playing around with this. And then I think I'm going to do, I don't know, something of a review / tips and tricks. I'm going to do some kind of a video about this eventually in a few months. I've never used any other kind of device like this, so I don't really have much of a frame of reference or anything to compare this particular device to. So I'm just going to be looking at it from the point of view of a total noob who doesn't want to make his viewers sick to their stomachs. Now, maybe not the coolest thing, but probably the most useful thing and definitely the most expensive thing that I bought at the expo was this box of candy. Was this fully assembled Retro Chip Tester Pro. I saw there was a booth selling these, and I had kind of waffled about getting it because it was kind of... I had waffled between getting the fully assembled version and getting the kit version. Now, also, as I had mentioned in my previous video, I purchased this, and I assembled this at the expo, or at the festival. They had a room there where you could solder stuff, a hackerspace. So I put this together. This, with just this tiny little bit of stuff, took about an hour. And so I looked at just how much stuff was on here, and I decided, you know what? It's worth the $80 to me to have someone else put this together and test it and make sure it works so that I don't have to deal with it. I have a ton of stuff, like random one-off RAM chips and ROM chips and other miscellaneous stuff that I get at estate sales and other things that I'm going to be able to test with this. So I'm really looking forward to using it. Now, there's some of the stuff that it seems like other retro chip tester pros have that this doesn't have. Like, this doesn't have. There must be extra add-on things so you can like dump ROMs and things like that. But it is what it is. And I know I'm gonna use the heck out of it. Now, I also bought a bunch of Pentium 2 processors. Let's see here. So let's look at what these are. So there's two 400s and one 350. I didn't have any 350s. I picked this up on the first day when the consignment room was open. And on the second day, these were still there. So I went ahead and picked them up too. I have a ton of slot 1 motherboards. At least like 6 or 7 slot 1 motherboards that I have kicking around that I don't need. So I'm going to pair these processors with those slot 1 motherboards and sell them off. You know, for stuff that I'm basically just going to flip. I didn't want to get them on the first day because I figured I'd rather let someone get them who actually wanted them. But, you know, when they're still there late in the afternoon on the second day, they're, you know, yeah, I just decided to go ahead and get them, and I didn't feel guilty about it. I also picked up, there was a vendor who was selling these. These are 3D printed card stands. These ones are for ISA cards, so you can prop them up and stand them up. And then these two are for PCI cards. I just thought they were kind of neat. They were pretty inexpensive. I think these particular ones were from their test batch, so they were marked down quite a bit lower. Yeah, they're just kind of neat for just displaying stuff. I had also picked up this, and I didn't pay super close attention to it, or I would probably have left it. I didn't notice that it was one that required external power. Basically, every time I see a USB zip drive, I get it. And the reason is zip disks are super useful for transferring things to old computers. I have a number of 100 megabyte SCSI zip drives that I use with all manner of vintage computers, you know, 68K based Macs, Amigas, you know, Atari STs that have SCSI controllers. Not that I have one of those. You know, various Unix machines that have SCSI, all kinds of stuff. You can author the disks on a modern PC using USB drives and then transfer the disks to, you know, they're removable media, so you can easily transfer them to whatever sort of other system. The reason I always pick them up is these drives wear out and they break, and having a couple hot spares on hand is, I mean, the mechanisms in these, I think when they do fail are beyond my ability to repair. So having spares mitigates that. I don't like the ones that, I prefer the ones that are powered by USB, the little bit later versions, just because it's one less thing that I need. So I don't know. I may or may not end up keeping this. I haven't decided for sure yet. One of the other things, I got a couple things that kind of go together. I got this Voice Master. This is essentially a Covox, what do they call it? The Covox speech thing. But it connects over a joystick port to Atari 8-bit computers or various kinds of Commodore 8-bit computers. Maybe only Commodore 64. I don't know if the VIC-20 has all the right stuff to be able to talk to this. I'm not 100% sure on that. No idea if it works. I just saw it and thought it was neat and picked it up. This was a first day pickup. I have done a little bit of searching for the software for this, especially for Atari 8-bit computers, and I cannot find that software anywhere. Maybe I'm just not looking under the right rocks or whatever. If you have any idea where a person might find the software, in particular There's software for it that for the Atari 8-bit computers that inserts some stuff into BASIC so that you can access this from BASIC and you could actually have it talk. That's what I'm really interested in playing around with. I'll probably end up doing a video about this at some point. I'll at least play around with it. It will make a showing again. Now, the most cool thing that I got, and that I tweeted a picture of, was this. So the people were setting up in the consignment room on Friday. And so at the end of the day on Friday, I went and did kind of a walkthrough and looked around and saw what kind of neat toys might be in there. And I saw this, and I saw another, was it a Yamaha FB01 MIDI device. I wanted to get both of them. The person selling the Yamaha kind of at the last minute changed his mind, and he actually went and found the person who had picked it up and told them, I'm sorry, I've decided not to sell that, and had to take it from them, which I don't I don't think that I would have had the nerve to do, but he was perfectly within his right. Like, money hadn't been exchanged, so he was within his rights to change his mind. I'm not trying to shame anyone for that. I just, I don't think I would have had the nerve to do that. But I did get this. So the event opened at 9. The festival opened at 9. The consignment room opened at 10. I got there at 7:30 to line up in a line to get into another line so that I could be sure to get this. So I was second in the first line, and I was first in the line for the consignment room because I wanted this. I've been wanting one of these for so long, and basically, I had been wanting one of these since shortly before LGR did a video about how cool these MIDI devices are, and then the prices exploded on them. So, thanks a lot. But I'm kind of glad because I got a really good deal on this in the box with the original cable and the power supply and the original, Roland branded bags, the manuals, so this is there are a couple versions of this. If my memory serves, there's the versions that have the 1/4-inch jacks like this, and then there's another version that has an 1/8-inch jack. This is the older version. I believe you can swap ROMs to make it effectively the same as the newer version. There's just some minor differences, and some things, it's kind of like the different versions of the SID chip. Some things sound a little bit different. I believe also the older version has some bugs that were fixed in the later version. Some software may have incompatibilities, but still, I haven't turned it on yet, so it may not work. This may end up being a repair video. That should be exciting. The wrong kind of exciting. But yeah, I was super stoked about this. To bring this back, I ended up putting this in because my checked bag was full of some things that we'll see later in the video. I had to put this in the carry-on bag, and you can see this is pretty big. It's filled about 80% of my carry-on bag. So it was kind of touch and go if whether or not I was going to be able to actually bring all of the stuff home, or if I was going to have to ship something. I did get 2 other things at the festival. I also bought a Blue SCSI 1.1A kit that I'm going to assemble. There's enough videos of people putting these things together, so I'm not going to do a video about assembling this, but I'm going to put it together. And I will, when I get to some other projects using like some of the Spark systems and things like that, I will test this out in those systems to see how it compares to other SCSI drive solutions for those kinds of systems. And then the silly thing, there was a huge box of these, and I felt compelled to buy one, and I don't know why. This is, I want to say this is the 6 GB model. The label on the bottom is very faded. Anyway, I took a picture of it was literally, one of those boxes that reams of paper comes in, full of these. I don't know where they came from, or I don't know any of the backstory, but I've got one now. I will probably do some kind of a project with this at some point. I don't know what that will be or why. Okay, so this trip to VCF East was part of a much larger trip for me. Like I think I mentioned in my previous video, I was gone for 24 days. I had actually flown into Louisville, Kentucky, which you'll notice is a long way from New Jersey, to visit some family. I drove across from Louisville to New Jersey, and then from New Jersey I drove down through Virginia to go visit some friends, and on and on and on. I stopped at some distilleries along the way, and I some of the distilleries I didn't get anything at because I wasn't that interested in what they had. I'm not gonna name any of those names, but I did. There was one distillery in Kentucky that I really liked. I want to say in Lexington. I bought a couple of bottles there. The blue corn and the toasted oak. So this they had fermented and aged in proper oak barrels. As bourbon is an appellation, and it has a bunch of requirements that have to be met in order for a thing to be called bourbon. Okay, so after it's bourbon, then this was transferred into toasted oak barrels to finish off, and that gives it a really interesting flavor profile. I really enjoyed both of these, so I bought a bottle of each. That was in Kentucky, and then in Virginia I stopped at, what was the name? I will put the name on the screen. I cannot remember the name of the distillery. They had a couple things that I liked, but I'm a big fan of port. And so bourbon finished in port barrels. Oh, this is good. I actually bought 2 bottles of this, and I gave a bottle of it to my friends who live in Virginia. They live at the other end of the state, a few hours away. This was good stuff. I would highly recommend going to, if you're in Kentucky or Virginia, I would highly recommend either one of these distilleries for a distillery visit. And then finally, I stopped at another distillery. I stopped at Silverback. This is, so it's a rye whiskey that they have added honey to as part of the downproofing process. I'm kind of conflicted about it. I mostly bought this so that I could bring it home and share it with some of my other friends who like whiskey and just sort of get their opinion about it, because it's kind of, I don't have a well-formed opinion about it yet. It's unusual and interesting. I don't know if that's necessarily good or bad. It's just unusual and interesting, and I'm going to stick with that. So those were my pickups. I'm going to pull as much of the stuff back into the frame as I can. These were my pickups. There were a couple of things that I couldn't get in the consignment room. There was a very crusty looking, very worse for wear Ultra Spark 60 that I really wanted to get, but it was so big and so heavy. There was no way I was going to be able to bring it home in my luggage, and I did not. I thought about buying it because it was very inexpensive. I thought about buying it and shipping it. I really want a 60, an Ultra 60 specifically, because the Ultra 60 can use any of the PCI or UPA video cards that Sun ever made. So basically any video card for that whole family that system can take, whereas the other systems, for various reasons, are a bit more limited. But when I got back, my friend at Geek with Social Skills made a donation to the channel. Let me grab it really quickly. So he gave me this very yellowed beast, which I have not even opened. This is a Sun Ultra 10. So it's an earlier version. It's in the same family. So they're 64-bit Spark processors. Much, much more modern than the other Spark systems that I've played around with. This system has... just flip it around. I haven't even opened it yet. I have not taken a look inside. That video is coming. It has some kind of a video card in it with a 13W3 connector, and also it has what appears to be a VGA connector on the motherboard. So I'm confused about that. I have questions. So with this, and you can see by looking at the comparison of the color of the top and the side that the plastic is very, very yellowed. I'm not really a retro brighting kind of person, so I probably will leave it this very yellowed color. This is definitely going to come back in future videos. I'm going to play with this, and I will start to get try to acquire some of the other video cards that can go in it so that I can play around with them and sort of build up that collection while I hope to find, a nice Ultra 60 out in the wild. We'll see if that ever actually happens. The one bummer is there's one specific video card that is a super quirky card that Sun made. It's one of the last ones based on a chip that, I think it is the last one based on a chip of their own design, that I don't think will work in this particular system. I need to double check on that. But I'm going to have some fun with this for sure. It has no hard drive. It has no optical drive, if you saw the big hole in the front. So it definitely needs some work and some refurbishing to get it back up and running. That video and a couple of the others that I've mentioned will come hopefully sometime this year. We'll see. I'm starting to get a very long list of projects to do. If you have enjoyed this pickups video, please click the like button. If you would like to see any of those follow-up videos, please click the subscribe button. And until next time, try to remember the good stuff.